In the summer of 2002, the world felt different. My son, only 10 years old at the time, had just finished a school project about outer space. His curiosity inspired me to plan a father and son road trip. Our destination, the infamous boundary of Area 51, a place I always wanted to visit myself. It was a trip meant to spark his imagination. We packed sandwiches, loaded up the car, and hit the road in the middle of the night to avoid the desert heat as much as we could. The drive was endless, the desert vast, but his excitement kept us going. Every so often, we'd stop to stretch our legs and marvel at the emptiness surrounding us, all the while watching out for rattlesnakes and scorpions. Eventually, we arrived at the warning signs. My son stared at them wide-eyed, as if they might reveal the secrets beyond. We didn't cross the line, of course, but we stood there soaking in the weight of the place, taking a few photos for memory's sake. We waved at the now famous camo dudes in their white truck up on the hillside, watching us through enormous binoculars, and we even joked that they were probably waving back while taking our photo for their security gate wall of trespasser photos. Of course, we knew better. These guys aren't famous for their friendly and welcoming manners. We didn't see any aliens. We didn't see any UFOs. We definitely couldn't see the base. And we decided not to annoy those camo dudes any further, so we left. On our way back, the desert began to feel different. The sky stretched forever, and the road seemed to pull us into infinity. It was then, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, that I decided to stop. I wanted to capture the perfection of the straight, empty road cutting through the desert. This was back when digital cameras were still in their infancy and I was still shooting on film. I made my adjustments on my camera, making sure to get the lighting just right. To the naked eye, the moment felt still, peaceful, but as I would later discover, it wasn't entirely so. Days later, after we'd returned home, I sent the film in for development. Again, this was back in the days when you used to send the film away and it would come back to you a few days later. As I was flipping through the photos, I noticed a spherical object, I would say, in one of the photos. I grabbed the magnifying glass, the best that I could, and looked at it a little closer, and it was definitely spherical. I've seen recent videos of objects that seem to resemble exactly what's in my photo from over 20 years ago now, and here are just a few of them. To me, they look identical. Although I admit my photo doesn't capture an object as close up as these videos. Nonetheless, the object seems the same. Notwithstanding the fact that I took the photo only a few miles outside of the Area 51 grid on Groom Lake at Nellis Air Force Base, I'm convinced this is the same type of sphere UFO people are seeing in the skies today. My first thought was disbelief. Could it have been a bird? Maybe a drone? But this was 2002, long before commercial civilian drones came into common use like they are today. Drones in 2002 were exclusively military, fixed-wing aircraft like the MQ-9 Reaper. But they were also very unmistakably loud. I would have heard it. And it was too small, too fast to be a bird. I was used to birds. As a photographer for many years, I learned to look out for things like birds getting into and ruining a landscape shot. Whatever it was, it left me with more questions than answers. I didn't have an answer then, and I don't have one now. But that one moment, captured in a fraction of a second, stayed with me. I posted the photo online a few years later, on Reddit if I'm not mistaken, and received so much ridicule that I took it back down. It was demoralizing not because anyone said that maybe it was a bird or a plane or whatever. People just couldn't leave personal attacks and insults out of their opinions, and that just wasn't worth the effort for me. So eventually, I scanned the original film photo and digitized it because it was getting old, and tucked it into an old hard drive where I store my old photos. And there it sat until recently when I was cleaning out old files and rediscovered it. Sometimes the desert speaks in whispers, and if you're lucky, or maybe unlucky, it'll leave you with something to ponder. That road trip was supposed to be about imagination and bonding, but in the end, it gave me a tiny glimpse into the unknown.